Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's Winnipeg Humane Society webinar. I'm Nancy. I work in the Behaviour Department here, and today we're going to talk about how to introduce a newly adopted dog into your home. If you're planning to adopt a dog or someone you know is planning to adopt a dog, hopefully you'll find this information helpful. So let's rewind a little bit. A little bit of planning ahead of time can make the transition for a new dog in your home much smoother. And so we'll go over a few things you can do. Step one, have you gathered supplies? Dogs need a few things, like a nice collar, a nice leash, a food dish, water dish, boot pickup bags. There's different things you might want to think about having. Another thing you might think about is, have you had a family meeting? If there's a number of people in the family, you might want to talk about everybody's expectations, who's going to be in charge of what, and how these things are going to go. That can help be a little bit, make things go a little more smoothly once the dog's in the home. And as well as reviewing your schedules, because who feeds in the morning could depend on who's up first in the morning, that sort of thing. So just things to think about. We also want to set up our home environment. If you have other pets, especially cats or rabbits or that sort of thing, pets that might not be terribly happy with a new dog at first, you want to make sure that they have somewhere safe to be. And so we could set up a nice little sanctuary room for the cats, or a place that they can retreat and not have to deal with this new interloper until they're ready. So that's something to think about. So also dog proofing your house. Want to make sure your kids' toys are picked up, and or there's garbage cans that are protected so they can't get into them, that sort of thing. And so especially if you're a new dog owner, you might want to look up resources that you may have need of. If say you live alone and you work long hours, maybe you want to look up dog walkers, or you can look up a daycare, or people might think about when you adopt a dog from the Winnipeg Humane Society, they'll talk about choosing a vet, that sort of thing. You can always think about ahead of time, which is a good idea. As a bonus, you could take a few days off work for everybody to be home. As we're recording this, we are in the middle of our COVID-19, so people are home. So this is it's definitely been a very popular time to bring a new pet into the home. So just a few things to think about. And another really big thing is to manage your expectations. This new dog that you're bringing into your home is an individual. The dog may just come home and fly right in and be all part of the family, or it may be, a lot for them to deal with. So we got to think about what we're going to expect out of the dog, and work from there. So to that end, we definitely want to take it slowly at first. We want to be patient with the dog. We want to stay calm. Don't need to make it big and exciting. No parties. This isn't kind of a time to overwhelm a dog with lots of people. Like I said, some dogs will just love that, but for others, it might be a bit much to deal with. So to that end, you definitely want to expect the unexpected. Your dog may do something that you've never seen. You've had dogs before, but you've never seen a dog do this before. Just be ready to go with the flow and work with the dog that you have at home now. Just remember, your dog doesn't know you or your family yet. They're literally surrounded in strangers, and that can be a lot to try and take in at once. So just keep our expectations kind of low at first, and work from there. So our first day when your dog comes home, you definitely want to keep your eyes on how they're feeling, and dogs talk about their feelings to us through their body language. So we want to watch their body language really closely. So here, if we see dogs that look like these dogs, they're very nervous dogs. They're not too sure what's going on. We have the Dalmatians hiding behind a couch there. The other white dog with spots, somebody is trying to pet him, and he looks very tense. Poor guy, his tail's tucked, his mouth is all pulled back, and the other two, yeah. These are pretty nervous dogs. So you would definitely want to go really slowly and carefully with them at first. On the other hand, your dog may come in like these guys. It's just, they looking pretty relaxed, super chill, but you want to be able to identify how your new dog is feeling. So keep your eyes on that. So you've come to the shelter, or the foster home, and you've picked out your new dog, and you're going home. How can we make this transition smooth for them? Step one, don't rush them. right? This isn't the time to try and force them into any situation that can make dogs defensive. And if they think they need to defend themselves against you, that's a bad start to your relationship. So give them some time. If you have a yard and you're taking your dog home to a yard, let them explore. I would suggest keeping them on leash at first. You know, so if they are a little bit scared or maybe a little bit excited, you know, we want to be able to kind of keep them under control right now. So again, watch their body language, see how they're feeling. Give them a little bit of time to sniff. For dogs, sniffing is a really important activity. It helps them relax. It helps them learn about their environment. So a very important thing to do. So just give them time and let them have a sniff around and find out what their new home smells like. I say that's very important for dogs. So now when we first we're at home with our people, we want to get everybody to come out and take turns greeting the dog. We don't want if you do have a larger family, not everybody to come out and kind of swarm around the dog. We want everybody take turns greeting them one at a time. And so bring some treats. You can always toss them to your dogs. They'll see you as the you know, you're the treat dispenser. That's not a bad thing. Dogs like to eat. Let the dog come to you is always a good idea. If the dog isn't too sure about you and they just need a few minutes to check you out from a distance, and then just let them. You know, as you say, this won't apply to a lot of dogs. A lot of dogs come flying up and sit in your lap and look for pets, but you know, sometimes they don't. And they're perfectly lovely dogs, once they get to know you, they just need a minute because they've had so many changes in their lives in this one day. So you want to remain calm for them. You lower your body. You can even crouch down. That can actually make some dogs approach you because they won't feel, you know, this large, tall person. It's easier for them to approach you if you're closer to their height. So, and just let them come over to you. If you have young children who are going to be meeting the dog, you might need to remind them to stay calm and to pet gently. Some dogs, if you get petting them too quickly and too excitedly, you can actually raise their excitement, and then you've got to, and even if the dog doesn't mean badly, he may get very excited and you know, knock the child over or you know, start licking or mouthing, and we don't want that. So just everybody just be calm. There's lots of time for play. Okay, so if you have another dog in the home, if you did adopt at the Winnipeg Humane Society, the dogs probably would have already met. But just keep in mind that that meeting would have taken place on neutral ground, and now your dogs will be meeting in your current dog's space. And some dogs like that, some dogs don't like that, some don't care. So we want to be careful introducing them at home. Keep them both on leash. Just keep the leashes nice and loose and let them come up and sniff if they want to. If either dog looks not too sure about the situation and does not want to meet the other dog, don't force a meeting. They're going to be living together. They'll have tons of time to get used to each other. And for some dogs, they'll actually just sniff around together. And that is a way of kind of being together, but not having to interact, which could be a little bit too intense, too much right now. So if you want some more tips on how to introduce your dogs, you can check out the Winnipeg Humane Society website. We have, that is under Your Pet. There's some behavior tips, and one of them is introducing dog to dog. So you're out in the yard, everybody's met. How long do you stay out there? Well, it depends on the dog, you know. Does the dog seem fairly comfortable? The animals seem comfortable? Now you have your house set up. Are the cats away? And they have a safe place to go into their secure room. And then so we step into the house. So you might want to start keeping your dog in one space. Yet again, if you have other pets, it gives them somewhere safe they can go, and you keep your dog contained in the one area to get to learn the space. Keep your dog on leash in case there is any kind of situation you might want to get your dog out of. Watch your dog for signs of stress. They may pace and pant and be restless and have problems settling down. That can be just a sign that they're uncomfortable. So you just want to sit back, give your dog time, be patient with them, stay calm. No parties. You know, yet again, this isn't the time to like introduce them to everybody in the family. Just everything's been a change for them, so you want to give them time to settle down. And of course, one of the dog's favorite time of day is feeding time. So we want to get them all set up somewhere nice to feed. We want to have a safe and quiet area. If we have her try and feed a new dog, especially out in a busy area, it can make dogs think they have to protect their food, and you don't want that. So we want them to feel safe. So don't crowd them. This might not be the best time just to feed them in a busy kitchen. Give them somewhere, like I say, somewhere where they have space. If you have more than one dog or you have cats, make sure their food is separate. And so yet again, like I say, one dog doesn't rush his food and then try and steal the other guy's food, because that can set you up for really bad conflicts. So we want to keep everybody separate. Yeah, you want every dog to feel secure that when you give them their dinner, it's going to be theirs and they'll be able to eat at their own leisure. So on the other hand, if your dog doesn't want to eat, stress can make some dogs can make them lose their appetite. So just respect that. Maybe try and tempt them with some really good stuff at first, just so that they do have a little bit in their stomach. So maybe mix in their kibble with some wet food, or some dogs like yogurt, or something like that. Just try a few things just to tempt them. And it's normal, and just give them a few days for their appetite to recover. So here we have two different dogs with very different kind of body languages over their food. This is really important at first. That's why we're talking about this a little bit more. We got the little Jack Russell there is just staring into his bowl. His ears are hanging. He's just eating away. The Aussie on the right, he's freezing. He's staring at you, not at the food. He's got his face in the bowl. That's a dog that thinks he needs to guard his food bowl. This is the dog you do not want to approach. Every time a dog thinks they have to defend their food source, the behavior will become stronger, and that can be a dangerous situation. So you don't want to approach a dog eating their food. It isn't a dominance thing. The dog isn't trying to be the boss. He's literally hungry. He wants his food, and he doesn't want someone to take it. So it's always best to not make them think they need to do that. So in the following days and weeks, you would still want to keep, yet again, everything calm. You could have a very high energy dog. This doesn't mean you don't take your dog out for exercise in the yard and that sort of thing. We just mean with training and teaching them the rules. If your dog gets on something you don't want them on, don't make a huge fuss. Just lead them off it, and start teaching them where you do want them to go. So, and yet again, resist bringing groups of people into the house. Just say they're still getting used to you. Reward the behaviors you want to see. This is super duper important. It's always better to reward the dog for being calm and laying on his bed and, being nice to the cat and all that kind of thing. It's better to reward them for good behavior than to punish them after they've done a bad behavior. That doesn't tell them a lot, except that you might get really angry at them at some point. And so let's reward them for what we want to see. So it's hard sometimes not to just pay attention to them when they're being naughty, when they're getting into the garbage can kind of thing. But, if you see your dog's doing good things, reward that. And in that vein, be proactive. Giving basic training is a good way for you guys to bond, because it tells your dog what you expect. He'll learn how you kind of interact with him, and can teach him, what you want him to do. So either get into a training class once those are available again, or you can work on training at home. There's tons of great information out there, or you can always get a hold of us at the Humane Society if you want some tips. If you're going to crate train your dog, hopefully where you've adopted your dog from will have some information about whether the dog has been in a crate before or not. If your dog has not, you definitely want to take it slow on crate training. And yet again, Humane Society can hook you up with some instructions on how best to get your dog crate trained. Crate training can be an awesome thing. Some dogs really thrive having a crate and having that safe space. So it very well could be a great thing to teach your dog. Go for short walks around the neighborhood. You might not want to do the big adventure at first when you don't know how your dog reacts to things. Plus, it helps them get to learn their neighborhood, get to learn their block. They can sniff, figure out who their neighbors are, dogs and humans. And so it's good to start with short walks. And maybe not go to the off-leash dog park for a little bit. You want to work on recall with your dog to make sure your dog will reliably come to you. You may be surprised at how your dog behaves off-leash the first time, and if you don't know the dog yet, that you can end up getting into trouble there. Plus, your dog's already dealt with a lot of new things, and if you take them to a new off-leash park where they have maybe dozens of new dogs to experience, that might be a lot. That may be extremely stressful for them. And just like us, if we're stressed already, dealing with another stressful situation can be really hard to deal with. So let's just take it slow, and we'll start exercising them other ways, like here, creating indoor enrichment. Dogs need physical exercise for sure, but exercising their brains and using other kinds of things that dogs like to do, like chewing. Chewing is a very good activity for dogs. It helps relax them. It's very natural. They like it. So if we give them appropriate things to chew, it can be great. Like we have here, we have some of the little red things on the top there. Those are frozen Kongs. It looks like they have blueberries and things in them. You can put all kinds of foods your dogs might like, stuff it into a Kong, put them in the freezer, and it's like an awesome popsicle for your dog. Some dogs really love those. Of course, you can buy all kinds of toys, but you can also make some things. On the bottom left, we have a water bottle with a few kibbles in it. You give that to a dog, and some dogs will happily play with that for a long time trying to get the kibble out. That could be great. Or the little Jack Russell there is on a snuffle mat. Those you can make or buy. And that really helps dogs learn. You stuff some treats in there, and dogs have to sniff them out and get the treats. And that can be a great relaxing activity for dogs. We have the orange food ball there. That's another good, you can get all kinds of different food balls at the pet store where you can actually give your dog their kibble meal in it, and they have to work for their food. Dogs love to work for their food. Is great brain exercise for them, which they need as well as physical exercise, right? So always good to create some indoor enrichment for your dog. So we got, now you want to establish a routine. Dogs love routine. You know, they'll learn when you get up in the morning. They'll learn when your family eats their meals. They'll learn when it's walk time. So if the sooner you establish kind of a routine, the better. And yet again, slow introduction to the other pets in the home. We have information on our website about introducing cats. You cannot introduce cats to a dog slow enough. Some cats may be very dog savvy if you've had dogs in the past, and it's no big deal, but maybe the dog doesn't have experience with cats. So it can be a kind of a tricky relationship, and you want to make sure that the dog never makes the cat feel threatened and feel defensive. That's usually how things go south with dog-cat relations. And then the cat may get aggressive because they think they need to defend themselves. So you cannot introduce two strange animals too slowly, and I can't stress that enough. So the cats always need to be able to get away safely. Expect accidents. Even in adult house-trained dogs, they don't know you. You may not recognize their signals. They may give a subtle signal that they need to go out and relieve themselves. So if they do have an accident, just recognize it meant that you probably missed a signal, or your dog is too stressed to give a proper signal. And so just make sure they get out a lot, and to be able to say to relieve themselves so they don't have an accident. If they do, don't make a fuss about it. There's nothing you can do after a dog has had an accident that will help train them to learn how to not do that. So just clean it up really well with an enzyme cleaner that will get rid of the scent, because dogs will go again if they can smell it sometimes. So just clean up really well, and just try a little bit harder at recognizing the dog's signals, or make sure you have a very regular routine where, you know, every couple hours you're taking the dogs out. And obviously quicker for puppies. Puppies need to go out. Can't be expected to hold it for very long. So they have to go out a lot to learn where you expect them to go. So be consistent with your training and your expectations. Nothing is harder for a dog to catch up on than the rules that change. You know, somebody lets them up on the couch, somebody doesn't let them up on the couch. They get in trouble if they're doing this, but then someone else doesn't think it's a big deal. Your family needs to be on the same page to make it for an easier transition for the dog. So just consistency and routine will help your dog settle in really quickly. And then start planning for the future. Like I say, training classes, daycare. Is your dog going to be able to come to work with you sometimes? Just think about these things. Not the kind of things you want to start and say right on the first day with the daycare and the work, but you know, things you can think about what you might be able to do. So the adjustment period for adoption dogs, for adult dogs, is we call it the rule of 3, and this isn't exactly consistent with every dog, but it is a general rule, and it has kind of proven be true for a lot of dogs, and that it takes 3 days for the dog to sort of even figure out that anything's changed. Like they're just kind of in shock, like what's going on here? I'm not sure. In 3 weeks, they'll start to get the hang of your routines, and they'll start to understand how your family works. This is if you're being consistent, right? All this depends on your consistency. And then, so 3 weeks, and they start getting the hang of things, and 3 months for them to really settle in. So we really need to be patient. You know, you can't expect your dog in the first week to suddenly know everything about what you want from him. So we want to, you know, you can't be too patient, basically. So just remember the rule of 3. Some common mistakes people make with adoption dogs. We do hear from people at the Humane Society. We're always available for you to call our helpline or check out our website for if you're curious about how you could be doing things with them to avoid making mistakes. You know, but things happen. One common mistake, big family gatherings or parties. Even if you have a pretty social dog, if they've been dealing with a lot of change in their life in the last little bit, having a lot of people around them can be very overwhelming, and that can lead to dogs becoming defensive, and yeah, that can end up not good. Unsupervised interaction with children, another big one. We hear from people. The dog doesn't know a lot of times, like I say, they don't know you. They might not have never been around children, and they might not understand that children are sometimes a little bit louder, they move a little bit quicker, they're a little more random, they might not be as gentle with them. So dogs should never be left unsupervised with very small children, and as children get older, they really need to be taught how to interact safely with dogs. So do not leave your new adoption dog alone with the kids. Leaving them alone in the crate for too long. Dogs are social. We presumably have adopted a dog to be part of our family. So we don't want to leave the dog in the crate for 10 hours while we're at work, and then for 9 hours overnight while we're sleeping, and then let them out little bits here and there. They're social animals, and the only way they're going to learn how to be part of our family is to be with the family, right? Okay, introducing them to other pets too quickly, especially cats. Very common mistake. We get a lot of dogs returned from adoption because they didn't like the cats, but they've only been in the house for 2 days. 2 days is too quick to introduce a cat and a new dog. The cat needs to, like I say, always have space to go. Good way is depends on the setup of your house, of course, but you can have a baby gate that the dog can see the cat through, but the cat can choose to come in or not. The cat isn't comfortable, the cat does not have to meet the dog. Never restrain a cat being introduced to a dog. The cat could, if the cat feels defensive, they could claw you, trying to get away from you. It can also make the cat become aggressive because they think they need to protect themselves, and by chasing away the other animal. So keeping them apart, keeping their interactions always under control, keeping your dog maybe on leash, or letting the cat out when the dog is in their crate, if you're crate training, so the cat can decide when they feel safe, is often a very good way to go about it. But yet again, we recommend with cats and with dogs at least 2 weeks in the same house before they come face to face, and that means actively keeping them apart for those couple weeks. Yet again, these are only guidelines. Some cats and some dogs are so good with each other that people are like, it's no big deal. But then sometimes we get people calling us because they've always done that and it worked out fine, and then they did it with their new dog and it did not go fine. So they're different, and if you do it too slowly, it's never going to hurt anything. So keep that in mind. Going to the off-leash park too soon is another common thing we hear about. That your dog is under a lot of stress right now. So if you take him where he's suddenly running willy-nilly with dozens of other dogs, maybe that can cause conflict if your dog is feeling stressed already. And maybe normally they love other strange dogs. They'd have no problems making friends at the dog park. But right now they're feeling a little too stressed. They can get into trouble, or the dog may have terrible recall. It doesn't know you. The dog doesn't know you. Why would they come back to you? We have no relationship. The dog doesn't know that I'm fun and that it's a good thing to come to me yet. So dogs can get lost. So definitely hang off going to the off-leash park for a little bit, for a few weeks for sure. And like I say, you cannot do this stuff too slowly, but you can very easily do this kind of stuff too quickly. Unrealistic expectations is probably the other reason we hear about people with newly adopted dogs, expecting young puppies to be house trained, or even adult dogs to be house trained when they don't know us, they don't know our routines, they don't know how to ask, how to go out in a way that we understand. Maybe in their previous home they were allowed on the couch, and now you don't want them on the couch. It's perfectly fine to not want them on the couch, but they don't know that. Dogs don't speak English, or any other human language, so people can expect them to know what sit and down and off and all these things mean. They don't know what those words means. They know what the humans in their lives have expected from them when they say those words, maybe, or maybe they've never been taught them before. So if they've never been taught them before, you can say off, off, off as much as you want, but the dog will not understand. So we got to make sure to manage our expectations of where the dog is at right now and deal with the dog in front of us, as we say in training, and go from there, not from our expectations of what our last dog was like. And I know that can be really hard, having been there myself, is, you lose a beloved pet, and you decide you're ready for a new dog, and you go get this new dog from the shelter. I've only had adult dogs, and so you bring a new dog home, and compared to your old dog, they're a nightmare. But then if you think about it, when you got your first dog, when they first came in your home, they were a nightmare too, but you don't remember that. It's easy to forget about that part. So just to manage your expectations and be really patient with the dog. And another common mistake is no boundaries. The opposite way of, instead of having unrealistic expectations, is giving the dog no clue on what you want. So dogs that have no clue what to do will often do things that we don't want them to. But if we've never given them, if we've never told them, we would like you to do this, and we are going to lead you away from doing that, the dog can't learn. So your dog they are, social animals, and they look to us, and so we need to lead them and show them, teach them how our world works. So don't just leave them hanging there. Okay, so in conclusion, be mindful that a lot of these experiences could be brand new to your dog, depending on the background of your dog. If you live on a great big house with acreage and you think this is awesome, and that is awesome place for a dog, maybe the dog came from a small city lot and isn't used to that kind of freedom, right? Or the other way around. If your dog wants to spend all its time outside because it was an outdoor dog before, this is all just totally brand new. So just keep that in mind. Take it slowly. Can't take it too slowly. I have said that a whole bunch of times in this webinar, and it is true, which is why I'm saying it so much. And be calm and patient. If you get really excited when a dog has made a mistake, you really need to just calm down and show them what you want them to do. They'll learn much more quickly that way, and it'll be better for everybody. Adjust your expectations as you go. Say when you first come home, you want to keep your expectations very low for what your dog may understand. So you may treat him like a totally new thing. You got to show him everything. But, as they start to settle in, then you can adjust your expectations. Maybe your dog's allowed a little bit more freedom. Maybe now that he's shown to have polite behavior, he is allowed on the couch, that sort of thing. So work with the dog in front of you so you can adjust your expectations as they settle in. So be consistent. Like I say, with dogs, they don't speak our language. They don't know us. So the more consistent you are in your communication with them, the quicker that they'll learn. And remember the 3-3-3 rule. 3 days to understand their life has changed. 3 weeks to start settling in and show their personality and that sort of thing. And 3 months till they fully settle and are part of the family. So this is a great time to adopt a new dog because we're home, and hopefully this will help you in bringing your new dog home. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next webinar.